You're listening to the Mark Bradford Alchemy for Life podcast.
So how fast does your reality move? Well, hey there. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back for just a 10-minute podcast, which one would think moves pretty quickly. And that's the topic of today. No, it's not how fast something moves per se. It gets a little more complicated. And in the past, I've talked about how if you're in the zone, time changes for you. And how we're feeling, what we're doing, our energy level, all these things change our perception of time. You know, the whole a watched pot never boils, time flies when you're having fun. That stuff all is rooted in people's realities. You know, there's a psychological reason for that. And when we state it in terms of time, energy, and resources, it becomes even more obvious, at least in my perception. So what I want to talk about today is kind of adjacent to that, if you will. It's not about how fast things move or how you're perceiving them. It's about how fast things move and your desire to change that. Aha. So now we're back to the become aware and do something about it theme of the show. So I guess the overarching way to say this is, to sum it up, the speed of reality, right? The movement speed at which the reality you're forced to live in is moving. We don't notice this as much, especially when we're patient people. And that's what you're going to say. Oh, Mark, so you're just going to tell me about patience. And I'll say, no, why did you even interrupt me to tell me that? You clearly just demonstrated that it's also about patience. Thank you very much. So as I was saying, let me continue. Did you enjoy that? I did. The amount of time it takes for you to get like your coffee order or something else can affect people when they're in a hurry. That can affect people if they're being impatient and so forth, right? It can affect people who get disconnected from time because they may get distracted for a second and think 2 minutes went by when like 10 seconds went by. And then they get mad because they're like, why is this taking so long? It's like, dude, it's been like 15 seconds. Personally, I'm annoyed by podcasts that are longer than mine, basically. I mean, unless someone's being interviewed or there's like a really good discussion. And maybe that's why they force TED Talks to only be of a certain length, a fairly limited length. But I'm not talking about zooming in to like 15 minutes. I'm talking about zooming out into days, weeks, months, even years, right? That's when it gets us. That's when it really shows the difference in people. I mean, an example that a lot of people struggle with is weight loss, right? When they want to lose weight, they want to lose it now. They look in the mirror, they see themselves in a picture, Mark, and they go, okay, I think I went a little too far. And they immediately want to lose the weight, or they want to lose it in a week. And they didn't gain that weight in a day or a week. It took a long time to put that weight on, typically. And we know from a healthy standpoint, you can only lose so much weight in a short period of time. And if you want to keep it off, you kind of almost have to lose it at the same speed you put it back on, because that's the way your body works. Because your body says, hey, oh, are you trying to kill me? Oh my God, I think you're trying to kill me. I think I'm going to force you to eat more. There we go. Shoo, we almost starved there. But it's true. That's sort of what your body's doing, because it's kind of designed to stop you from dying, right? And that's the problem with weight loss for a lot of people, is it's not like giving up some vice that they have that they don't need to live, but you kind of have to eat to live. Hello. So there's that, right? That's a bigger one. I mean, if you ever have to go out and buy a house and you have to sign your signature 27 times, I'm not even kidding. 24, I think I counted. That's a long process. There's always that really quick process, that fervor that happens in the beginning, and then all of a sudden you get to that weird part where you're like, well, now what do we do? Well, we don't do anything. What? I've been used to doing like 7 things a day, and now I don't have to do anything. I just have to wait. And suddenly your perception of time gets really annoying. But that's the speed that reality is moving at. And you know what? That's a little too generous. It's not the speed at which reality is moving. It's the speed at which these specific tasks are moving, right? So let me give you another, now that makes sense, let me give you a weird tidbit of something that I really like. And I think some people like too. But again, it's one of those things that I've discovered I like that a lot of people probably like, but they're not even aware of it. Like, I really kind of get turned on by like overlapping a bunch of things. Like if I am like cleaning up or something, and let's use housework as a universal thing that we can all understand. If I loaded the dishwasher and I'm running the dishwasher now, I'm like, ooh, something's happening. And then I go off and I do something else. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing two things at once. Look at how productive I am. And then if there's like a third thing I can do, like, like my whole do it to a fault method that I program my brain with. If I'm talking on the phone with somebody, or, I needed to reconnect to my friend in another state or whatever, and I'm talking to them while I'm cleaning, while the dishwasher's running. And I'm sorry to laugh at this, but this is hilarious. And the washing machine's running, right? Washing machine, that sounds like I'm like 90. Yeah, the washer's running. All that stuff is happening at the same time. I'm like, I get so jazzed by that. I'm like, look at me. I'm super efficient. I'm leading 5 lives at once. And like, oh, maybe, imagine throwing like a cake in the oven or baking a ham at the same time, right? I just think that's such a great thing. But my brain really enjoys and likes, I hate to use the word productivity because nobody cares. If somebody tells me that they can increase my productivity, I'm like, go away. Don't ever contact me on LinkedIn again, right? I'm sure you're the same way too. Because productivity just sucks as a word. It's just like, oh. And I know, oh, you're saying, oh no, Mark, I love productivity. I like to be more productive. Well, of course, the concept of productivity. But productivity is so detached from what we enjoy and what turns us on. You could say, well, I had a productive day looking back, but you don't say, oh, okay, that's enough. You always go on to say that thing you did that was productive, which is what was meaningful for you. So why am I telling you about patience and the speed of reality and the speed of certain tasks and productivity? Because they're all connected, because our perception of them affects how we feel. One of the biggest check marks of adulthood and also of being an entrepreneur, noticing time, energy, and resource stuff, is when you get how long something takes. That's a huge one. That, in and of itself, can change you from a crabby person to a contented person. Contented? Like, let's contrast these two things. Contrast the whole, the whole concept people have of like people in New York and traffic and stuff, where everyone's stuck in traffic and everyone's hitting their horn, which I just love. Like, what do you want the guy to do in front of you? Do you want him to leap in front of the car in front of him? Like, there's nothing they can do. And I had people visit me in my state, and we were driving around, and they're like, why didn't you beep at him? I'm like, well, because he was getting out of the way, and he already saw me. The horn is to like alert people to your presence, or to warn them, or to convey some message. I'm like, none of that would have applied here. And they're like, oh, wow. Like, nobody here beeps. I'm like, yeah. If you compare the whole, you're stuck in traffic beeping and you're angry, and like every second that's going, you're more and more angry because you have no control over the situation. And you're like, I just want to go home, or I go to the bathroom, right? To your brain going, okay, well, I guess this is going to take 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden your mind wanders a little bit. I'm not saying be a distracted driver. I'm saying if you're stuck in traffic and your car's not moving, or you're at a stoplight or whatever, yeah, you can check your phone. Yeah, you can start thinking about things. You can look through that windshield, but you can also look into your psyche and go, oh, here's something I want to think about. And now you may say, well, that's only semi-applicable to a normal person, Mark, which I am. And I'd say, well, okay. And yes, I understand that I've done a considerable amount of planning and thinking and designing while I used to have a long drive home. But you develop that sort of thing because you free your mind. You free your mind from the cage of thinking you're trapped in how fast your reality is moving. But in reality, no pun intended, you are actually in control of how fast your reality is moving. Because if buying your house or being in traffic or losing weight take anything more than an instant, well, then you free your mind to do something else in the interim, which gets us back to the whole washing machine, phone conversation, baking a cake at the same time. It depends on how much you want to tolerate, how much you want to overlay on reality, I guess. And I know the whole attitude is everything is so cliche, but it's one of those unfortunate phrases that is really powerful, but it's been so overused that it's like lost the meaning. And you say, shut up, attitude isn't everything. What if something crappy happens to me? But it's true though, and like I said, contrast the person who's just about to lose it in their car next to the person who's in the same time constraints is just happily whistling along, staring out the windshield and going, oh yeah, that would be cool. Oh, I wonder if I could do that. They're in the same reality, but their own little bubble, they've kind of changed how their reality is. So speaking of realities and bubbles, I'm over 11 minutes. I try to keep it to 10. Mark, stop talking about it. Now you've added more time. Thank you. I just love this extra voice I have today. It's so empowering and psychotic at the same time. But as your homework, I think it would be a good idea to think as we always say, have the awareness first. So try to have the awareness next time you're stuck in one of those situations. It may surprise you to go, oh, I guess I just never really became aware of this. It's just like I always dreaded it and it's stressful. But if you know something's going to take longer than you want it to, then just, try to let go of it or try to overlap something. It seems like good homework. So I will leave you at about 12 minutes and I would say, have an awesome week. Talk to you soon. Hey there, thanks for listening. I always enjoy your feedback. The prequel to The Sword and the Sunflower duet, called Upside Down, is now available. The Sword and the Sunflower is available as Kindle, paperback, and audiobook, with the other two, Amira and Upside Down, being available as Kindle and paperback. Well, actually, all three books are now available in hardcover.